Hi, good afternoon. I wanted to share a quick word with you that I felt led to share with you and that was laid on my heart today. And it's Esther 4. And if you know the story of Esther, I'll summarize it real quick here. Basically, the queen at the time had offended the king and got thrown out, so the king needed a new queen. So he brought all of these women together and basically picked Esther out of everybody. So she became the new queen. So she had a very important role. And her cousin, Mordecai, you can read all about it in the book of Esther if you wanted more detail and more understanding. I'm just going here chapter 4 for you today. So here's what it says in Esther 4. When Mordecai learned what had been done, he tore his clothes, put on sackcloth and ashes, and went out into the city, crying with a loud and bitter wail. He stood outside the gate of the palace, for no one was allowed to enter while wearing clothes of mourning. And as news of the king's decree, mind you, the king's decree was that all Jews were to be basically killed. That was the ultimate decree. So, where were we? Verse 3. And as news of the king's decree reached all the province, there was great mourning among the Jews. They fasted, wept, and wailed, and many people lay in sackcloth and ashes. When Queen Esther's maid and eunuchs came and told her about Mordecai, she was deeply distressed. She sent clothes to him to replace the sackcloth, but he refused it. Then Esther sent Hatshah, one of the king's eunuchs, who had been appointed as her attendant. She ordered him to go to Mordecai and find out what was troubling him and why he was in mourning. So Hatshah went out to Mordecai in the square in front of the palace gate. Mordecai told him the whole story and told him how much money Haman had promised to pay into the royal treasury for the destruction of the Jews. Mordecai gave Hatshah a copy of the decree issued in Susan that called for the death of all Jews, and he asked this name is getting me today. Hatshah to show it to Esther. He also asked Hatshah to explain it to her and to urge her to go to the king to beg for mercy and plead for her people. Which, by the way, if I'm mispronouncing it, I'm sorry. I'm just having one of those days. Onward. So Hatshah returned to Esther with Mordecai's message. Then Esther told Hatshah to go back and relay this message to Mordecai. The whole world knows that anyone who appears before the king in his inner court without being invited is doomed to die unless the king holds out his gold scepter. And the king has not called for me to come to him in more than a month. So Hatshah gave Esther's message to Mordecai. Mordecai sent back this reply to Esther. Do not think for a moment that you will escape there in the palace when all other Jews are killed. If you keep quiet at a time like this, deliverance for the Jews will arise from some other place, but you and your relatives will die. What's more, who can say but that you have been elevated to the palace for such as a time as this? Then Esther sent this reply to Mordecai. Go and gather together all the Jews of Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, nights or day. My maids and I will do the same, and then, though it is against the law, I will go in to see the king. If I must die, I am willing to die. So Mordecai went away and did as Esther told him. So what I want to say basically about this isn't so much focusing in on how Mordecai told Esther, hey, if you don't do this, then all the Jews are going to die. Or basically that God's going to raise up somebody in your place because you didn't fulfill the deliverance of the Jews, basically, by you not going to the king. It's not about that. What I want to say about this is that we all face giants, and we all face challenges and tribulations and things that come into our lives that shake us to the core. And we have to do things, and we have to go before our own kings in our lives. And we have to stand before the king, even though we may die, or not in a literal sense will we die, but sometimes we lose our jobs, we lose family, we lose friends, we lose people that we love, we lose our homes, we sacrifice because of the fact that we have to do what we are called to do. Not only are we called to do certain things, but sometimes we have to go before the king in our lives, or the giant even, and stand in front of that giant or in front of that king and know that we are laying our lives on the line. And that's okay, because if we don't do it, somebody else will. God will call somebody else to stand up and do it, causing us to miss out on our opportunity, causing us to miss out on our blessing, causing us to miss out on a chance to do God's will in our lives even. So what kings do you have to face today? What giants do you have to go up against that are threatening your life, your family life, or, you know, your purpose in life? What do you have to give up or sacrifice? What do you have to lay on the line for God? I don't know what it is. I know what I had to do, and I'm still processing it and still learning to adjust. But it's all for the glory of God. And God has a purpose for each and every one of you, and we have to go out and do it and be bold. We have to boldly proclaim God. We have to boldly do His will, and whatever it is, we have to face our giants, much like David. I know I'm talking about Esther here, but I will throw David in there because David had to go up against Goliath, a man who was 9 feet tall, a little, like, 12, 13-year-old boy going up a 9-foot tall giant, like, and even grown men were scared out of their wits' ends. So, I encourage you, if God has called you to stand before the King, then go and stand before the King, because God will see you through anything and everything, because He promised that He will be there for you, that He will never leave you nor forsake you, that He will provide for you. And it's gonna maybe scary, may not be scary, whatever it is, go for it. Because as long as you do what God has called you to do and do what you're supposed to do in right with God, He will provide. He will be there. He will see you through the storms of life. So I issue you the challenge today. Go out there. Face the King. And if it cost you what it cost you, let it be all for the glory of God. I hope you have a blessed day. Thank you for tuning in today. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye.